President John F. Kennedy once stood before the nation and spoke words that echoed deep within its soul. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." This was not just a clever phrase. It was a profound call to every citizen. It was an invitation to see ourselves as part of something much larger than our own individual lives. Kennedy believed that the strength of America was not found in its government alone, but in the hearts and hands of its people. He saw an America where everyone had a role to play, a contribution to make, a purpose to fulfill for the common good. This idea of service became a powerful force. It was a unifying principle that brought people from all walks of life together. It suggested that our differences in background, belief, or station were less important than our shared identity as Americans. The spirit of that time was one of incredible optimism and energy. People felt that they could solve big problems if they worked together. They believed in progress. They believed in the future. This was the essence of America's soul, a collective commitment to building a better world, not just for ourselves, but for the generations that would follow in our footsteps. It was a practical and deeply felt patriotism. That call to action inspired millions. Young people joined the Peace Corps, traveling to distant lands to share their skills and their compassion. Others dedicated themselves to the mission of sending a man to the moon, a bold goal that captured the nation's imagination. At home, citizens worked to advance civil rights, to build better schools, and to care for their neighbors. There was a palpable sense that individual actions, when combined, could steer the course of history. This was the American promise in action, a nation of individuals united in a shared endeavor to lift humanity higher. Kennedy's words were a reminder of a fundamental truth about leadership and citizenship. True leadership does not just command, it inspires. It calls forth the best in people. It asks them to reach beyond their own self-interest and to invest in the well-being of their community and their country. The flame of hope that he lit was fueled by this sense of shared responsibility. It was a belief that every person had the power to make a difference, to be a small but vital part of a great national story. This was the heart of the American experiment, beating strong with purpose and with pride. America was founded on a revolutionary idea. It was the idea that people from many different places could come together to form a single nation. This nation would be built on the principles of liberty, justice, and the pursuit of a common good. Our earliest leaders knew this would not be easy. They understood that unity required constant effort. It meant listening to one another, even when we disagreed. It meant finding common ground. The original purpose of America was to be a great experiment in cooperation, a place where diversity was not a weakness, but a source of strength and innovation. This spirit of working together defined many of our greatest achievements. We built a transcontinental railroad that connected a vast continent. We faced down economic depressions and global wars, not as isolated individuals, but as a united people. We created public schools so that every child could have a chance to learn and to succeed. These accomplishments were not the work of government alone. They were the result of countless citizens who believed in the American project. They shared a sense of destiny, a belief that by pulling together, they could create a future that was brighter than the past for everyone. The American dream was never just about individual wealth. It was about community. It was about building towns and cities where families could be safe. It was about creating opportunities for our children that we never had ourselves. This required trust. It required a belief that our neighbors, our colleagues, and our fellow citizens were all part of the same team. We understood that our personal success was tied to the success of our nation. This shared understanding was the glue that held the country together, allowing it to grow and to prosper through immense challenges and changes. This unity was not perfect. The nation has always struggled to live up to its highest ideals. Yet, the aspiration was always there. The goal was always to form a more perfect union. This meant acknowledging our flaws and working to correct them. It meant expanding the circle of opportunity and justice to include all people. The core promise of America was that we were on a journey together. We were partners in the great and difficult task of building a free and fair society. This shared purpose gave our national life meaning and direction, guiding us through even the darkest of times. Somewhere along the way, we began to lose that powerful spirit of unity. The threads that once bound us together started to fray. The reasons for this are complex, but the results are clear to see. We have become more divided. We often see each other not as fellow Americans, but as members of opposing teams. The conversations that once sought common ground have been replaced by arguments designed to score points. We have allowed our differences to overshadow the many values and dreams that we still share. This growing division has weakened our collective heart and soul. Many things have contributed to this change. New technologies, which promise to connect us, have often pushed us into bubbles of agreement. We are shown news and opinions that confirm what we already believe, making it harder to understand different perspectives. We have become distracted by the noise of constant conflict, losing sight of the larger challenges that we must face together. Unfair systems have also played a role, creating a sense that the rules do not apply to everyone equally. When people lose faith in the fairness of the system, they lose trust in each other and in their institutions. This loss of trust is perhaps the most damaging change of all. A healthy democracy depends on it. We must be able to trust that our leaders are telling the truth. We must trust that our institutions are working for the benefit of all, not just a select few. And we must trust each other as citizens. When that trust erodes, we become more fearful, more suspicious, and less willing to cooperate. The fabric of our society starts to tear. The sense of shared purpose that once defined us begins to fade, replaced by a feeling of anxiety and isolation. The dream of a united America has been interrupted. The challenges we face today, from economic inequality to climate change, require the same spirit of collective action that we have shown in the past. But it is difficult to solve big problems when we cannot even agree on the basic facts. It is hard to build a better future when we are busy fighting with one another over the present. We have strayed from the path of unity and cooperation. We have forgotten the simple but profound lesson that we are, and always will be, stronger together than we are apart. If President Kennedy could speak to us today, on this day in 2025, what would he say? I believe he would first express his enduring faith in the American people, but he would also speak with a sense of urgency. He would look at our deep divisions and remind us that a house divided against itself cannot stand. He would urge us to remember that democracy is not a spectator sport. It is an active, living thing that requires the full participation of its citizens. He would tell us that our republic is a precious and fragile gift, and that it is our duty to protect and strengthen it. Kennedy would almost certainly speak about the importance of truth. In his time, he faced down dangerous misinformation and propaganda. He would be alarmed by how easily falsehoods can spread today. He would implore us to be discerning consumers of information. He would ask us to seek out facts, to listen to experts, and to reject the cynical voices that seek to divide us with lies. He would remind us that a healthy public debate can only happen when it is based on a shared understanding of reality. Without truth, there can be no trust. And without trust, democracy cannot survive. His message would also be a powerful call to service. He would look at our challenges and see them not as reasons for despair, but as opportunities for greatness. He would ask a new generation to step forward. He would call on them to serve their communities, to run for office, to start businesses that solve problems, and to work in public service. He would tell us that the answer to our problems is not less government, but better government, and that better government begins with citizens who are willing to get involved and demand more from their leaders and from themselves. Finally, Kennedy would speak about courage. He would remind us that it takes courage to stand up for what is right, especially when it is unpopular. It takes courage to listen to those with whom we disagree. It takes courage to admit when we are wrong and to seek compromise. He would tell us that the future of America does not belong to the cynics or the critics. It belongs to those who have the courage to believe in our country's promise and the determination to make that promise real for every single American. His voice would be a call to our better angels. So how do we answer this call? How do we rekindle the spirit that Kennedy championed? The path back to unity begins with small, practical steps taken by each of us. We must start by reclaiming our civic responsibility. This means more than just voting. It means paying attention to what is happening in our towns and in our nation. It means attending a local council meeting, volunteering for a cause we care about, or simply having a respectful conversation with a neighbor who holds a different political view. We must choose to engage, not to retreat into our private worlds. We must also demand truth and integrity from our leaders and from our media. We should support journalism that is fair accurate, and dedicated to informing the public. We must hold our elected officials accountable for their words and their actions. We should refuse to accept dishonesty as a normal part of politics. By raising our standards and expecting more, we can help to restore the foundation of trust upon which our democracy is built. This is not a partisan issue. It is a patriotic duty for every citizen who values our republic. The most powerful act of all is simply to care for one another. We can choose kindness over contempt. We can choose empathy over judgment. We can look for the good in people, even when we disagree with them. This means performing small acts of service in our daily lives, helping a neighbor, mentoring a young person, or supporting a local charity. These actions create ripples of compassion that can slowly heal our divisions. They remind us of our shared humanity and rebuild the bonds of community, one connection at a time. Restoring the soul of America is the work of millions of gentle hands. The torch of freedom and unity has been passed to us. It may have dimmed, but it has not been extinguished. We have the power to make it burn brightly once again. It requires the courage to believe in America's promise, the kindness to care for one another, and the determination to work together for the future our children deserve. Let us remember the words of President Kennedy and ask ourselves today and every day what we can do for our country. Let us choose hope over fear, unity over division, and love over hate. The story of America is still being written, and we are all its authors. Let us write a chapter of renewal.